What's up, tribe? Thank you for being here and welcome to my channel. Today's post is titled Attributes. This post also came right after Creations, so you might want to give that a listen on Matias de Stefano's education playlist on my channel, or give it a read on yosoy.red blog, which I leave a link to in the description box below. As this is a dialogue between Matias and his higher self, I'd be referring to Matias as me and to his higher self as I am. Me. In the energy that I produce from my sacrum, I obtain the basis of all my potentials to act. Is that energy then what drives me to action? I am. Action is the ability to perform an act. Act comes from the Greek concept ago, which means guide, and from agon, which means to gather. Basically, the meaning is to gather everything I have and direct it, lead it towards a destination. For this reason, the Latin word actum refers to putting something in motion. The energy that is received and anchored in the heart is processed and assimilated in the plexus, to then deliver that energy to the sacrum, who will produce what is sought, and all that is generated is taken to a new destination. Outside, through giving, letting go, giving, putting oneself at the service, and it does so through action, something that is related to the root chakra. Me, it would be like the expression or manifestation of what is generated within me with the energy received and assimilated by my being. I am, exactly. Me, how would this be seen in our lives? Through an example. I am, well, we can see it with what you are doing day by day. Every morning that you wake up, you intend to give part of your energy to a planetary service by going to the pyramid. You enter, go up, do your meditation, and then expand the concept of the day to the entire network. In this way, you receive the energy of the pyramid that amplifies your energy field, connecting you with me, your higher self. So, when you return, you sit down and write our conversations. This is the process of how you decode the received energy, translate it into your language, assimilate it, and make it part of you. So you generate something new, which is this conversation. You post it for yourself, although others will read it. And throughout the day, you recognize what you have created. You reread it. It is your product, which you created from the energies received in the morning. So, you take this information and put it into action. The daily lineups where you deliver to thousands of people live what you have assimilated. Their responses, love, and gratitude is the energy that you receive that night, so that the next day you can regain strength to perform the action of going to the pyramid. It's a cycle. Me, I understand, although sometimes I feel that I do it with more desire than others. Why is that? I am. Because the action is the undulating energy that vibrates like the waves of the sea. It is not constant. To have inertia, you need the moment of rest, sleep, and awakening. It is necessary to lower the voltage and increase the voltage, because the light moves in a wave of positive and negative frequencies, short and long. This is what gives movement, momentum. Nothing moves in a constant ascending line. increasing its rise or acceleration. The more you go up, the slower you will go because you will need much more force. Therefore, you need to go down, go back on a slope. Me. It resembles a wave graph in which there is an elevation in height and a depression in descent to repeat the circuit over and over again. Just as on the emotional plane, we call the elevation euphoria and joy, and the descent depression and sadness. Should these be repeated too? I am. Yes. Just as for the heart, the energy circuit is to give and receive horizontally with the environment. In the base center, the energy circuit is ascending and descending, related to euphoria and depression. The more euphoria, the more depression. The more joy, the more sadness. And this is an inevitable cycle, because as I said, the energy of light moves in waves and spirals, so that an object or energy can move forward. The starting force and the fall of the descent are needed, since the latter is that gives the momentum and speed to take the curve of the rise and reach the top. This is why every great success in their lives is directly related to a preceding crisis or failure. Crises are the keys to success. Falls are the only thing that makes you recognize standing up. Me. So, feeling bad, tired, weak, sad, depressed is not something that should be avoided in life, but knowing how to use it. I am. You have an overvaluation in your culture regarding what it means to be happy and live happy. The incessant search for happiness makes you flee from sorrow, pain, and anguish, denying them, taking them as the evil from which we must escape. Well, I regret to tell you that you can never escape the circuit as long as you're living beings. But I will tell you that there are many ways to experience those curves. Me, which ones? I am. Let's keep it logical and simple. Take an extensive wave of vibration like the one you see in the following image. So I guess you'd want to visit the blog and take a look at the graph. Back to the dialogue. I am. Let's keep it logical and simple. Take an extensive wave of vibration like the one you see in the following image. The red line is the spectrum of light. The frequency line shows the colors that are perceived as the function of the speed at which that wave vibrates. That is, with what frequency its ascents and descents are repeated. The larger the object, the slower the frequency it emits. The lower the frequency and the smaller the object, the lower the frequency. High, that is, it vibrates much faster, and the ascents and descents are more and more fast. The higher the vibration, the higher the frequency, the faster, and the more imperceptible. If you look at the red word visible on the graph, you will see that in a straight line below you can see the colors of the rainbow in a short stretch of the wavelength that refers to what humans can see and perceive. All the others are impossible to see, but something else, the faster it vibrates, like the atomic nucleus at the end of the graph, it can happen that the atomic structure breaks, dissolving it, and thus generating nuclear fusion. This generates the famous nuclear energy, which is so good for creating energy and so bad for living organisms because it breaks their harmony. Now, as you will see, life is a constant wave of energy with rises and falls at different frequencies. You can also compare it to a heartbeat reader, in which you see the pulse on a graph. The ups and downs of the graph will indicate the pulse of the heart expanding and contracting. But if it only contracts or only expands, it is called a heart attack. And a graph in which you only see a straight line is called death. Me, it was clear. And what would this look like in our lives? I am, well, imagine now that each concave rise on the red line is happiness and the convex curves are depression. The more frequency there is between the spaces, as at the beginning of the image line, the process will be slow and invisible. I will not be able to relate what my depression comes from or why I feel the way I feel, because there is a long stretch of time to go up and down. Towards the middle of the graph, we can see that there's a certain harmony in each attitude, action. I can identify the moments of descent. I know what things affect me on a daily basis. What makes me happy? What makes me sad? But towards the end of the line, we can interpret that your search for happiness is exacerbated, always trying to be at the top, through euphoria more than joy, shortening the deadlines, the frequency between the ups and downs, getting deeper and deeper, taking you into a state of euphoria and depression so fast that they both seem to be two parallel and constant lines. And this is toxic. It is nuclear fusion. It destroys life. In the denial of one of the two forces, you end up empowering it to destroy your reality, giving it its own identity. This is how you fall into depression or euphoria. You need drugs to feed them because you can no longer generate your own energy to sustain them. Me, I must admit that both are the ones that help me to move forward. Not just one, but both. They both drive me like a heartbeat. How do I recognize them? I am the concave curves, the tops of the wave, are called strengths, and the convex curves, the depressions of the wave, are called weaknesses. In the same way that the usefulness in giving from the heart is what I can give to others from myself, and the uselessness in my heart is what I allow myself to receive from others to allow the correct functioning of the circuit. The fact of understanding the strengths and weaknesses in my actions allows to identify the energetic circuit of the root. Both make up your attributes. Me, what is the difference between attribute and quality? I am, a quality is a property that is considered proper, natural, and original of an individual. An attribute is something acquired by experience and assimilation of energy in your process of evolution and personal growth. Just as there are negative and positive qualities, there are also positive and negative attributes, skills that can be considered acquired through experience that harm oneself or others, but knowing how to operate them correctly have the expected effect. Me, like what, for example? I am, being a dictator is an attribute. Even if it is not the best thing, being a murderer is an attribute, as he manages to fulfill his mission in a good way, like the dictator, although there are distortions. Me. And what are strengths? I am. It is what you recognize in yourself, what makes you feel strong and present in yourself when acting, the pulse you have to operate. They are attributes that you have achieved through your life that make you act with total presence and integrity. Me. On my list, I noted that one of my strengths, for example, is not being afraid and allowing myself to cry in front of others without hiding what I feel. I am. As much as society interprets crying as a weakness, sometimes the person who allows them to express what they feel is stronger than the one who hides what happens for fear of breaking. There, appearing strong when bad is not a strength, but a weakness. Me. So what are the weaknesses? I am. They are those attributes that define you when it comes to acting, but that weaken your personal stability. Me, for example, I wrote down being self-critical, being lazy, being naive, doing what others want so that they don't get angry, among others. I am, if instead of fighting against them, thinking that having them fallen is like having failed in life, you use these moments as a process of introspection, of self analysis, knowing consciously that it is a time that you must take for yourself of inaction prior to action. Then you will save the energy you use in the battle against the fall, and you will use it as the clean and jerk that will propel you to the top. Me. The goal of life is not to find happiness. Well, I am. Of course not. The goal of life is to live in harmony, free yourself from the magical and poetic cultural romanticism that keeps people suffering all year long to earn 2 weeks of vacation euphoria, or that longing to strive for the glory minutes of success, euphoric of what has been achieved. That's not life. Life is harmony. It's day by day, step by step, ups and downs. Find the correct frequency in your wavelength, and you will find stability, where your attributes of strength and weakness, both, will be your steps forward, acting on the path of life. Me, I recognize my weaknesses. I am, and so you will make the leap to your strengths.